Beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
Hello, Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
Alright, welcome back to Boring Reviews. If you ever wonder why I always do this when I do it, I stole it from Sean Chandler. He was a big inspiration for this channel. If you don't know who he is, check him out. He does great reviews and reactions. But I stole it from him, Sean. I know you're not watching, but if you are, thanks so much for the inspiration.
No, you're not watching, but hey.
Now, I said the last video that we did together was off the rails earliest. This was even more off the rails early on. Nick,
Chris.
and we are looking at another video, another reaction from Cogito. We are loving these informational videos on different religions around the world, primarily religions that are big in India and that area in Asia. So we are looking at what today?
We are looking at what is Buddhism, Alex. No, it's just what is Buddhism?
Buddhism?
Buddhism.
I don't know.
Buddhism.
I don't think it's
Buddhism.
Buddhism. Buddha. But
Did I
anyways,
say Buddhism?
you said Buddhism.
Whoops. Buddhism.
I just thought you were doing like a Celebrity Jeopardy joke
Well, I was doing a Celebrity Jeopardy joke.
from Essedell.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Buddhism.
So, Buddhism is what we're looking at today.
Buddhism.
Obviously, Buddhism is a huge religion and a lot of believers out in the world. So how could we not learn about Buddhism today? We are going to. We're excited about it. Like we've mentioned many times, we're religious ourselves. We don't know much about these other religions. We have learned about other religions, but usually different Christianity, Protestant religions. So it's fun to learn about these completely different set of beliefs. And the only thing I know about Buddhism is Buddha, and it's not much about Buddha. But I know that there's a few friends I have that love the teachings of Buddha, even though they're not Buddhists, if that makes sense. If you're new to Boring Reviews, we are mostly a movie review reaction channel, but we like doing reactions of all different types because we have such a wonderful Indian audience, and we're trying to learn more about their culture and about their beliefs. If you want to get into some more movie reviews and reactions that we have, go ahead and check those out. When you're done watching this video, learn a little bit about Buddhism. It's not going to hurt you. And if you like what you see, go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this video and every video you see, and subscribe. And go ahead and leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Give us some tips. If you want to be a patron, that'd be really cool because you support the channel, and we give you shout-outs like our patrons right here. Thanks to all of our patrons. We try to get to your requests as soon as possible. If you make a request as a patron, doesn't mean that you're instantly going to have that happen the next day. Sometimes it's going to be a few days, but it's going to be way sooner than anyone else's requests come in for the most part. And we're going to give you some extra videos that are just for you, so watch out for those.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, all that
Just for
fun
you.
stuff, let's get into what is Buddhism.
Also, I think the first Buddha was Siddhartha. I think.
Oh, he's making a prediction. Let's see if he's
Siddhartha.
right.
I'm pretty sure.
He's either going to be the hero or
The loser.
I was trying to think of a more fancy word, but that's not that.
No. That's what it is.
Buddhism. The mere mention of it brings to mind tranquil monks in ancient temples. It's one of the world's largest and oldest religions. But if you live outside of Asia, you probably don't know much about it. So what is Buddhism, and what do Buddhists believe? Let's find out.
This guy's channel is awesome, by the way.
The story of the Buddha takes many different forms, and you're supposed to believe whatever version helps you the most. I've read many different accounts of the Buddha's life, and some portray him as a normal person, while in others he's essentially Captain Planet. So I've condensed all of the different accounts together
Captain
and
Planet.
left in all the important parts. The future Buddha was born painlessly from his mother's right side, in modern-day Nepal, to King Shododana and Queen Maya, rulers of Kapilavastu. The king named him Siddhartha, which means he whose aim is accomplished. An old hermit named Asita came to visit
This
the child.
time.
The apparently very trusting king and queen decided to let this random person hold their child. Asita claimed that this boy would become a great emperor, but if he ever left the confines of the palace, he would become the spiritual leader of the entire world. King Shododana, who had apparently gone to the Disney villain school of parenting, decided to imprison his son in the palace, never letting him see any of the outside world. No signs of decay were
He will
committed
never
within
see
his
any of
sight. Flower petals were swept away as soon as they fell, and sick and old staff were sent away. Siddhartha was unaware that pain, aging, or death existed. In order to make sure that his son would never leave, the king had Siddhartha married at 16 years old to Yashodhara. It was love at first sight between the two. They had apparently loved each other in many previous lives, and may even have mated while they were tigers at some point. They had a son named Rahula, who was not a tiger, and they all lived happily ever after in the king's pleasure palaces. Until a musician, came and sang of the wonders of the world. Siddhartha wanted to see this world and convince his father that all future emperors need to see the world they're going to one day rule, right? So the king, confident that he had tied his son down, decided that he could trust him to go outside and not start any global world religions while he was there. So at 29 years old, Siddhartha finally left the palace, but not before his dad had all of the ugly and or dead people taken from the streets. Siddhartha was having a grand old time visiting his kingdom, till he came across a man with a bad cough. He asked his charioteer, Chandaka, what was wrong with the man. Chandaka explained that the man was sick and that eventually everyone gets sick. Chandaka had clearly not gotten the king's memo. This revelation blew Siddhartha's mind. On the next two trips, Siddhartha saw an old man and then a dead man. Siddhartha became depressed, knowing that everyone he loved would eventually grow old and die. And on his fourth visit, he came across a homeless traveller. This man had renounced all material things and was looking for a spiritual escape to life's suffering. Siddhartha, inspired by this random homeless person, decided he too had to go on a spiritual quest. He asked Chandaka to take him far away. He then sent Chandaka home to tell Siddhartha's wife and child that he was doing this because he loved them. He needed to discover an escape to life's suffering, and if he didn't, death was going to part them all eventually anyway, which is that's a bleak thought. Thanks, oh Buddha. Moving on, after some wandering and studying, Siddhartha went to go live with the 5 ascetics in the woods. The ascetics practiced extreme deprivation in order to achieve enlightenment. Siddhartha began a 6-year fast, sitting exposed to the elements and eating nothing but the seeds that fell in his lap. This effort turned out to be pointless, however. Siddhartha realized that his mind was slow and clouded, probably on account of the starvation. This realization taught him that the true path lay between indulgence and deprivation, and this is an idea he would later develop into the middle path. He gave up his fast by eating a bowl of rice milk. His 5 ascetic friends left in disgust, thinking that Siddhartha had given up on his quest. Siddhartha wandered until he eventually found the fig tree. He was determined to sit under this tree, meditating until he reached enlightenment. And after 49 days of intense meditating, he did just that. At 35 years of age, he had become the awakened one, the Buddha. The tree he sat under became known as the Bodhi tree, and its direct descendant can still be seen today at Bodh Gaya in India. After some consideration, the Buddha decided that he would share his knowledge with the world. He found his 5 ascetic friends at Deer Park in Sarnath, and there he delivered his first teaching, or Dharma, revealing for the first time his 4 noble truths. The 5 ascetics became the first members of the Sangha, the Buddhist monk community. The Buddha would wander the Gangetic Plain for the next 45 years, gathering thousands of followers and accepting people of all genders, class and castes into the Sangha. He died at 80 years of age near Kushinagar, and his followers had him cremated and his remains spread throughout the Indian subcontinent under monuments known as stupas, which continue to be important pilgrimage sites today. Buddhism would eventually spread out of the Ganges region, first down through Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia, then north over the Silk Road to Central and East Asia, and it would then spread from Tibet all the way to Mongolia, where under the Mongol Empire it was brought to Russia, and then later on it would be exported further west. So now that we know a little bit more about the life of the Buddha, let's explore the core beliefs of Buddhism. At this point, it's important to remember that the Buddha lived around 480 to 400 BC, and his teachings were recorded orally for centuries. Because of this oral tradition, there are a lot of numbered categories, which made it easier for people to memorize and recite. Numbered categories like the 4 noble truths, which are: noble truth number 1, life is suffering. No matter what you do in life, you're gonna suffer. Ultimately, everyone grows old, gets sick, and dies. I know it sounds depressing, but it gets more positive later on. Noble truth number 2. We suffer because of craving. We are attached to impermanent things, and because of this, we are destined to suffer. We need to change what we want rather than get what we want. Noble truth number 3. We can escape this cycle of suffering. Yay! Noble truth number 4. The Noble Eightfold Path will help us escape suffering and achieve enlightenment. The Noble Eightfold Path is the middle way that the Buddha discovered. It lies between the deprivation of the ascetic and the indulgences of a young prince. You don't follow each step one after the other. It's more of a wheel that you spin altogether. Step 1 is right view or understanding. It is understanding that the 4 noble truths will help you stop suffering. You need to see that everything in this world is impermanent. Step 2 is right intent. Why are you doing things? If they're done out of anger or greed, they will only cause suffering. If they're done out of love and compassion, then they will alleviate suffering. Step 3 is right speech. You should not hurt people with your words. You should not try and deceive people, obscure the truth through muddy language, or take part in gossip. You should be truthful and clear always. Step 4 is right action. Always strive to do good in your actions. Do not act in a way that is negative. Right action also covers the 5 precepts, which are like the Buddhist 10 commandments. They are: 1. Do not harm any living creatures. 2. Do not steal. 3. Do not engage in sexual misconduct. 4. Do not lie or hurt people with words. And 5. Do not take intoxicating substances. Step 5 is right livelihood. You should earn your living in an ethical way. You shouldn't be involved in arms or drugs trading, and you definitely shouldn't be involved in the slave trade, which the Buddha was very strongly against. Step 6 is right effort. You should always go about your life with a positive attitude and some enthusiasm, and you should always want to improve who you are. Step 7 is right mindfulness. You need to pay attention. When you walk in the park, you need to live in that moment. You shouldn't be thinking of something awkward you did in school 10 years ago, or whether or not you'll be promoted next year. You should be able to live entirely in the present moment and be mindful. Step 8 is right concentration. The ability to focus on a single object or concept, be it a rock, polar bear, cat gif. Right concentration helps you focus your mind and see things how they truly are. Right concentration and right mindfulness are important parts of Buddhist meditation, but we won't cover that in this video. By following this Noble Eightfold Path, you can reach Nirvana, the state of enlightenment that the Buddha reached under that tree. You reach Nirvana when you extinguish all wants and desires. Okay, so let's take a more bird's eye view of Buddhism. Buddhism is split between 2 major branches, Theravada and Mahayana. Theravada is the older of the 2. It's also considered to be a bit more orthodox. They think of the Buddha as a more human figure, and there is a focus on using meditation as a way to reach enlightenment. Within Theravada Buddhism, there is a belief in 3 things. Nothing is permanent, life is suffering, and there is no self. There is a huge emphasis on monastic life and rebirth in Theravada Buddhism. Only monks can really reach enlightenment. Mahayana Buddhism, which means greater vehicle, is younger and considered to be more accessible to normal people. It's called greater vehicle because it's supposed to allow more people to achieve nirvana. Mahayana contains a lot of different schools, such as Zen, Tantra, and Pure Land Buddhism. They believe that enlightenment can be reached in a single lifetime, and that you don't need to be a monk to do it. Anyone can. Mahayana is the more religious of the 2 as well, and has things called bodhisattvas, which are people that have achieved enlightenment but delay nirvana to help others do the same. There's also more emphasis on idols and godlike beings. Today, Buddhism is a religion of about 488 million people, or about 7% of the world's population. Nearly all of them live in the Asia-Pacific region, at about 98.7%. Every other region has fewer than 1% each. Buddhists, though, only make up about 12% of the Asia-Pacific population, and half of all Buddhists live within China. But there are large Buddhist communities across Asia, especially in Thailand, Burma, and Japan. So there we have it. The life of the Buddha, the 4 Noble Truths, and the Eightfold Path explained. This video is meant to be a quick introduction to the topic, and is part of a larger world religion series. I hope that I've managed to teach you something new.
It seemed like he was talking a little faster in that one than in the Sikhism video, which is harder for me to keep up, especially since I really don't have a lot of background on these videos. But there was still a lot of good information. I was really intrigued by the story of the first Buddha. How do you say his name again?
I say Siddhartha, but I feel like he was saying it a little bit different.
Well, it could be his accent too. But so we'll call him Siddhartha. I was really intrigued by that story. I'm not sure if a lot of that is nowadays considered kind of like lore, or if that actually is a historical person that you can study about and whatnot. But I liked that story. I thought it was interesting how, you know, you have that whole situation of if he leaves and he's going to be a spiritual leader worldwide. That makes me think maybe a little more lore, a little more legend. But if there really was someone that made that prediction, then holy cow, that guy knows what he's talking about. Because this guy goes off and he starts this religion where he just starts converting people himself. And then nowadays, 488 million people, 7% of the population. I had no idea it was that large.
Yeah, Buddhism is huge. I knew that much, but I mean, I would say the most interesting part of it to me would be how the Buddha sees things as middle of the road sort of stuff. You know, a lot of people can say, you know, middle of the road means a fence sitter, but it's not to be confused with that. You know, we believe, moderation. Moderation is key. You know, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, and definitely too much of a bad thing is a bad thing. But you know, there's a balance to everything, and I definitely believe that as well. So I could definitely dig where that was going right there.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like a belief system where if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, not only are you happier inside, but you're more than likely affecting the people outside of you in a very positive way because you're not worried so much about I want, give me, I need more of this. And it's interesting because times in my life where I've fasted against certain things, like whether it's high sugary foods or soda or just too much of too much YouTube. It's interesting how you find yourself very quickly once you make the decision and commit that you don't need those things. You just enjoy those things. And for some of those things, like soda, I love drinking soda. It's one of my favorite things to consume. But when I stay away from soda, I know I'm not addicted to it, so I'm not really missing too much. And then when I go back to it, let's say like 6 months, I don't drink soda, and I get my first can, I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be so glorious, and I drink it, and it's just so ungratifying.
It doesn't live to the hype.
I almost have to get myself addicted again to it for me to truly enjoy it, and there's a problem with that. And so I really enjoyed this. You said moderation. That's a good way to look at it. I really enjoyed this way of teaching where you don't need those things. But I also didn't feel like they were saying like never ever have that ice cream cone. You don't want to be,
It's the understanding, at least to me,
to it.
it's the understanding that you don't need the ice cream cone. You can enjoy it, but understand nothing's going to last. Eventually that ice cream cone will go away. And so when it's gone, appreciate what you had and move on. I think that's what the goal is there.
I love this guy's videos. We didn't mention enough in the last one about Sikhism, but this guy, he gives a lot of information. He's very well spoken. He gives a lot of information that he does research on. You see his advertisements for Audible, these books that he's reading, listening to. But he gives you a lot of information. And with the one with Hinduism, the people in the comment section said, this guy's pretty much spot on. He was wrong about a few things, but he does it in a very engaging way. He throws in a little bit of humor without being over the top. I'm just really impressed with this. I've said it before. Check out this guy's channel. Subscribe to this guy so he can keep making more of these videos. They're awesome. He's getting sponsorships, so he's going to keep making more, but we just want to keep throwing that love. But I really enjoyed that. Anything else you want to add from this video?
I mean, not really.
Besides you were right?
I was right. That's the important thing, everybody, that we've learned
That's what we want to leave you with.
from this video as well, as I was right. Kidding. But no, I mean, I enjoyed it. I have spoken with a few Buddhists every now and then, and they all seem like very genuine, nice people. It's a good way of life. I don't have a problem with it.
There you have it. And with that being said, until next time.
Take care.